Demi Lovato has recently come out with a new documentary where she's interviewing child stars. They're exposing the industry, talking about their experience working as a child star, and we're gonna get into all the things that were exposed in this documentary, what people are having to say, all the conversations that have started because of this. Demi Lovato's new documentary, Child Star, premiered this month on Hulu. The documentary explores the complex experiences of child actors who grew up in the entertainment industry. Former child stars Drew Barrymore, Christina Ricci, JoJo Siwa, Kenan Thompson, Raven Simone, and Allison Stoner shared personal stories about the highs and lows of early fame. Each star shared how they got their start in the industry and what it was like navigating it at such a young age. I mean, some of them were even in diapers still when they started their careers. They shared stories such as, if you and your parent were easy to work with, it was very likely that you would get another job, and pushing back in any way was hard because you wanted to continue getting work, and if you were seen as easy to work with, then you were going to continue to get that work. They also talked about how child dreams of stardom can stem from a parent's dream of stardom, and that children will kind of just want to make their parent happy and hear a good job from them. And, is it really their dream at the end of the day to be famous? Because children just don't understand what being famous actually means. And Demi even opened up about it at one point, that she wished there was something that she could have watched back then to really grasp, is this what I really want?
I wish that someone had made a film about child stardom that I could have watched before I entered the industry to really kind of suss out if that was something that I wanted to do or not.
And in some cases, parents didn't even know how to navigate their child's rise to fame and properly advocate for them, as Demi's mom talked about the fact that Demi was so overworked at one point that there was a time where all she wanted was just 5 minutes of sleep before a performance, and she could barely get her up after the 5 minutes. And they both ended up emotional over the situation, and she says that in that moment she knew that she needed to speak up, things needed to shift schedule-wise around just to give Demi some time to rest. Demi says that she was so burnt out at one point that it made her question things, like she knew she was so lucky to be on Disney Channel and that millions of people wanted to be in her position, but she just was so unhappy, and it was because she was just doing way too much as a teenager. She couldn't enjoy the opportunities that were presented to her because she was so overworked. But at the time, as a teenager, she's not understanding what she's feeling. She just knows that she's unhappy and that she's sad. Allison Stoner, Demi, and Raven later talked about disassociating from their work to the point that they have minimal memories of their time actually working. Demi admitted that she didn't even remember the fact that Raven had guest starred on Sunny with a Chance at one point, and when they got on the phone to talk about doing this documentary, Raven was like, "Girl, I was literally on your show." Demi revealed that what she does remember is being difficult to work with back then, and says it was because she was in pain and she was hurting at that time, just dealing with so much on her plate as a kid. And Raven admitted that Demi wasn't the nicest when they had filmed together. She said that she didn't hold it against her though, because she's been in the industry for a long time since she was young, and she recognized by seeing Demi that there was definitely something going on. So it seemed like she was kind of giving her grace for not being the best to work with, because she could sense something was happening just based off of her own experiences. Allison Stoner even admits that compared to filming the first Camp Rock, it was way harder to work with Demi as she gained popularity, and there was a sense of walking on eggshells when they went to go film future projects together. And in the documentary, Demi apologized to Allison for how she acted at that time. Demi also talks about the pressures that she just felt to be this teenage role model, which she says is words that should never be put together. She says that she just didn't even know she could take time off, and that they just kept packing and packing her schedule. At one point, she had gone on tour and she did 70 shows in 90 days. And when she was finally going to have 2 days off in a row, they told her that she needed to go and film a movie. And when sitting down with Raven, she was talking about this, and Raven was saying, they're gonna milk you because you're young and you're supposed to have energy, but the reality is that you don't. Allison Stoner goes on to say that there's research that shows people who experience fame have an average lifespan that's 14 years younger than non-famous people due to mental health struggles, and that a famous person is 4 times more likely to take their own life, and that fame has addictive properties similar to substances, which she says, if that is the case, why are we hooking a child to a drug that fundamentally is altering their brain chemistry and future development? Like, why are we getting children involved in an industry that has this kind of reputation? Later, DEMI did sit down with JoJo Siwa, who had a long relationship with Nickelodeon. And I know that we've talked about JoJo a lot on this channel, specifically her time on Dance Moms, because she doesn't really look back at Dance Moms in a negative light compared to a lot of other Dance Moms girls. And she does defend Abby Lee Miller. And in a lot of what JoJo says is that she defends Dance Moms because she's experienced a lot worse in the industry. And I do believe that this worse is her referencing Nickelodeon, because she had this long relationship with Nickelodeon. And in this documentary, she was opening up about that, saying that she admits that when she turned 17, she wanted out of this deal because they owned everything that she did. She needed approval by them for everything, and things really took a turn when she came out as gay. She says the president of the network called her and was like, what are we gonna tell kids and parents? She was told that she was gonna have to have a call with all the retailers they worked with, like Target, Amazon, Toys R Us, Walmart, all of these stores, to let them know that she wasn't going crazy. And she says that from there, the way that Nickelodeon communicated with her, worked with her, everything they did with her changed entirely. And she says that she basically got blackballed from the company. And this was definitely in line with what DEMI was describing in terms of this pressure that is put on these young child stars to be this brand that the network is approving of. From the things that you're saying, posting, wearing, doing, like they want full control. And that's just a whole other level of pressure to think about, can I do this? Can I say this? Can I go here? Can I do that? Something that kids shouldn't really have to be stressing about. There was also a huge discussion surrounding money in the industry and how stars like Allison Stoner and Kenan Thompson didn't have the best people surrounding them with access to their funds, and it led them to going from rags to riches back to rags, as Kenan says. And this is something happening in a space that's way more regulated than the internet. So we can only imagine how child stars online can really be taken advantage of by parents or anyone really who is using them for financial gain if it is happening to child stars in Hollywood, where there are things set in place like a Coogan account. Towards the end of the documentary, DEMI focuses on advocating for change in protection for future generations of child stars, emphasizing the need for stronger regulations, particularly for kids entering the entertainment industry, noting how quickly fame can come, especially in the age of social media. YouTuber Ryan's World was brought up as an example of an online child star bringing in millions and millions of dollars, not just on social media, but through brand deals, collaborations, products in stores. You're just hoping that his family is setting aside money for him at the end of the day. DEMI is even bringing up how it's scary to think about who is controlling the money for these online child stars and where this is all headed, where things are going. And she was bringing light to the efforts being made to make changes happen, like bills people are working on to get passed. And yes, there are things coming out about traditional child stars that have been taken advantage of still, especially money-wise, even though there are things set in place like the Coogan account. But something for these online child stars is better than nothing. Right now, there is one state that has something set in place for them, but there definitely needs to be more. I mean, to think about how much more will probably be coming out in the future when this wave of child stars who grew up on their family vlog channel or their mom's Instagram blog or Snapchat grow up and can truly share their stories. I mean, we're seeing glimpses of it here and there, hearing the stories, but there sadly will probably be more. I mean, seriously, this is a documentary about traditional child stars that's coming out in 2024, and social media is way newer, so there's unfortunately probably going to be way more stories in the future that we're hearing about. Kids that are being filmed right now, when they get older, they're going to want to share their stories, and hopefully, by the time they're an adult or by the time they reach middle school or high school, there's something put in place, because it cannot go on this way forever. That is for sure. Like, some of this content that is online where these parents are making money off of their kids and living off of it, like, it just cannot be happening. And in interviews that DEMI has done outside of the documentary, she is talking further about the protections that should be put in place, especially for those online stars.
You hope that this goes beyond just a documentary. You hope that this leads to some real change and some protection for young talent out there. And I know that you're working with some politicians to make some changes. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I worked with an incredible activist, Chris McCarty, and they are working to hopefully pass legislation. There's a bill actually on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, and he has until September 30th to sign it. But this would implement the legislation that we're talking about that would protect and compensate minors that are on social media.
I mean, this is really big for child stars like this to be coming together to want to call out the fact that more needs to be done in this growing industry. I'm truly hoping more can be done, and soon, because social media is growing every day and there's new content creators trying their hand at it. And it's just so important for children to get the protection that they need. The internet is so scary, and sadly, parents can be too. Everyone should be compensated for work that they're doing, and it's become clear that making content online is a form of work. I know a lot of people didn't want to believe it was a real job in the beginning, but it very much is and needs to be taken seriously, especially when it comes to protections being put in place. But that's some of what DEMI and other child stars have discussed in this new documentary she's released. I'm certainly wanting to know what you guys are thinking about all of this, these stars coming out to advocate, share their stories. Let me know if you guys watch this documentary for yourselves. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.